What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we have a brand new Sugofest batch arriving on the Japanese version of Treasure Cruise. This has got to be one of the most anticipated characters to be coming for a while, just with the renaissance of slasher characters, just in general. A lot of people have been wanting slasher characters to come back into the meta and see them just dominate content. And it has been a long time since slashers have been like the top team. I don't even think they were the top team even when they did get that support back in the day. It's been a long time coming, but finally, all of these characters in this batch are direct support for slasher characters. This is insane. You know, we were not expecting to see a double legend batch get released so goddamn soon. Now, as of me recording this video right now, I do not know what the actual structure of the Sugofest is going to be. However, I do know that someone pointed out that it stated that Colosseum Brook will be the next Colosseum arriving on Japan. So these characters are obviously going to be boosted for that particular Colosseum. It's going to be interesting to see what actually goes on here. It says there's something on the second multi, not really too sure. It could be like a new character guaranteed on the second multi, something on the 9th multi, maybe a limited pool legend or something like that. But yeah, I'm not really too sure at this current time. But as I said in this video, the new Sugofest batch is coming, and we're going to go through every single brand new Red Recruit in this batch in its full detail. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first character that we're going to be talking about is the first of the Red Recruits, which is going to be Hyozo. So I've done my own little translation on the side. It might be a little bit different from what eventually comes out, but I'm pretty certain that what I've translated here is pretty much correct. I haven't translated any of the captain effects because for most of the rare recruits, they don't really matter. Obviously, I've translated the new legends, but for here, it looks like it's 2.25 times attack, maybe 1.2 times health, and then after you hit good or better in the order of int, dex, and dex, you get an additional 1.25 times attack. Pretty stock standard. A 12 turn cooldown with Max with his special ability, and his special ability is really good. So it goes ahead and states that for one enemy, it's going to inflict an extreme poison or some sort of level of poison. Now, I don't know if it's an actual toxic poison like what Magellan does. I'm pretty sure it's just a strong poison because there are different levels of poison. There's just regular poison, there is the strong poison, and I believe there is the toxic as well. I believe this is just the strong poison, so pretty straightforward. As well as he also completely gets rid of all blindness with his special ability. You don't see that too often. You don't see too many characters that actually do that. There's only a very handful of characters that can do that with their special ability. There are lots of characters nowadays that have sailor abilities that just completely resist it, but it's nice that he actually completely gets rid of that. He also recovers 5 turns of Captain Despair and Special Bind, so that's really freaking good, and also changes adjacent slots into matching, and then you can change your orbs around 3 times. As a special ability, it's really good, and he's definitely going to be seeing play with the ability of reducing 5 turns of Special Bind is so huge, and it moves on to his sailor abilities, where his first one resists 3 turns of Special Bind for himself, obviously allowing you to use his special ability, and then you can go ahead and have his second one, which is avoiding all paralysis on himself. So all in all, this character is mainly just a utility character. The fact that he does have extreme poison as well could be quite nice because it allows you to get through resilience barriers, because none of the new characters get rid of resilience. So that's actually pretty cool that you have a character that can just enable you to get rid of that. So that's pretty awesome. So all in all, I think Hyozo is definitely a very, very solid new rare recruit to have. Now, this is one of the other rare recruits that a lot of people have been wanting to see in the game. We thought this type of character would have been arriving with perhaps a Thriller Bark batch. However, we're getting a rare recruit Ryuma, and his artwork looks freaking beastly. This character is a driven slasher, interestingly enough that he's a driven character, and he's a strength unit. You can see that his potential abilities, he has double special activation. That's pretty freaking awesome considering what I know what he does. That's pretty cool. And also critical hit. I actually didn't have a look at what Hyozo has. Hyozo has, okay, reduce no healing by 5 turns. Okay, that's fair enough. And critical hit. Okay, that's fair enough. But let's go on with Ryuma, as we said. Captain ability, not really too important. You know what it is. As you can see, it's only 2.5 attack. Looks like to strength characters. Nothing really too crazy. 13 turn cooldown with his special, and it will go ahead and state very, very simply, if your captain is a slasher character, boost the attack and orbs of slashers by 1.75 for 1 turn. And that's it. So that's pretty cool because you can use him on, like, let's say like a stage 3 or a stage 4 of a Colosseum, and then you can move on to stage 5, and with his double special activation, you can get it again. So it's essentially 2 turns of 1.75 attack and orbs, but you can use them on different runes. But obviously you do have to have this maxed out in order to get the full ability of it, but I think it's actually pretty good. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this character, but it would have been nice if he had some sort of other additional effect, maybe like, you know, type orbs are beneficial for a turn for slashes or something like that, because like just boosting attack and orbs, it's fine, but I feel like nowadays you need to have a character to help you do something else. Otherwise, you know, you got a character like this, which is definitely going to see play, but it just means that you have to bring other characters to help you get around certain debuffs in that type of situation. So he's good, but I honestly, you know, prefer to have Hyozo and what he does, because I feel he'll help out slasher teams a lot more considering what the new legends do, and we'll get to those new legends in a little bit. Okay, moving on to the next rare recruit, we have MisterOne. Again, another rare recruit character that a lot of people have been asking for, and again, this would have been a really nice character to have for like a version 2 Crocodile. I feel like that would have been so goddamn cool, and I hope we do get a V2 Crocodile sometime in the future. But here we have Daz Bones, MisterOne, Captain Effect, as we said before, nothing too crazy, it's only a 2.5 booster with some other effects, but his special ability, maxing at 10 turns. And he actually does a lot of different things, right? So MisterOne, he does a 20% health cut to one enemy that goes through defensive effects and barriers, so that's always nice to have. Also, he randomizes all non-matching orbs, including block orbs. That's always nice to just have the ability to get rid of block orbs. He also disables damage-reducing effects of your slots. So this type of effect, it doesn't really see much play at all. If you guys are familiar with the rare recruit Lafitte that came out like way in 2016, 2017, that character also does that. So what it means is that if you have a negative slot or you have a block orb and you use a special ability that reduces the damage reducing effects of the orb, means that block and negative orbs do not give like minus attack. They just are treated as neutral orbs. So he does that for 3 turns. So that's interesting that he does that. As I said, that's not an effect you'll see that often, and it's kind of weird because his specific special ability randomizes your non-matching orbs, including blocks, so he gets rid of them anyway. So I don't really understand where you'd be using this character. However, at the end, it also states he also reduces 3 turns of defense up, which is the blue shield, and the rainbow percent damage reduction. So that is also a very nice effect to have. So mainly I would see this character being used for, obviously the health cut through barriers is always going to be useful, and reducing the defensive effects of the defense up and percent damage reduction. The orb shuffling and disabling reducing effects of slots, you don't really need that often. I mean, I could be proven wrong. There could be a piece of content that comes out where you definitely need that type of effect, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. In terms of his sailor abilities, his first one is going to give himself 150 attack if your captain is a slasher, and his secondary one will make sight orbs beneficial to all your slasher characters. So as a sub, he's going to be very, very helpful for helping out your slasher teams. He has int damage reduction up to 5% and a critical hit chance of 80% chance for 7% extra damage. So again, not really a too amazing of a limit break potential, but the sailor abilities are definitely useful. So the last of these rare recruits that we're going to be talking about before we get to the double legends, we have rare recruit Kaku. So Kaku is a striker slasher quick character, and he actually has a pretty average, again, captain effect, nothing too crazy. His special ability maxes at 12 turns, and it is multi-stage. I think Kaku's probably my favorite of the entire batch. He's just so freaking cool. So as we said, multi-staged, one is 3 turns less. And what he does at stage 2 with the 12-turn cooldown, one enemy will get 200,000 fixed damage dealt to them. And on top of that, the crew's orbs are changed into whatever orb that Kaku has. That's actually really cool, because the way that the captains work and some of the other sailors you have in the game, you can make them beneficial to your team and then give them to all your units on your crew. So that's a pretty interesting way of using him. But then he has a really awesome utility where he reduces 5 turns of bind, paralysis, and attack down on your crew. This character is amazing. I think this is probably my favorite character of the batch, just because like 200k fixed damage is insane. Like, that is so useful to have, and you know, that it would have been nice if it goes through barriers, but you know, you can't ask for too much. That's still really powerful. and also the fact he reduces 5 turns of those really annoying debuffs, bind, paralysis, and attack down. And that utility that he has of reducing 5 turns of that stuff, that's not like, you don't need a condition to fulfill in order to get that, which makes him even better. And the fact that he changes orbs around, that's kind of like an added bonus, but you'll definitely be using him just for the fact that he reduces 3 of the most annoying debuffs to get around in the entire game. Now, in terms of his sailor abilities, his first one is going to give him double damage against dex enemies, so meaning that as a sub, he doesn't have any like weakness, which is nice to have. And his secondary one recovers 2 turns of special rewind, which again is like something you don't see too often, but when you do have a character that gets around the rewind stuff, it's always nice to have. And it would have been so cool if he reduced the cooldowns of your slashes by like 2 turns or something, so that, you know, if you did get special rewind, you could just use him as a sub, rewind your characters forward, as well as get some really cool effects. So that would have been really cool if he was able to do that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And then for his potential abilities, he has the strength damage reduction and critical hit chance, which is the same as MisterOne. Okay, so now we're here finally at the brand new Sugo Fest exclusive characters of this batch. The first one is going to be Mihawk. Now, let's have a look at the 5-star artwork right here. I actually am a humongous fan of this particular artwork right here. And then we'll go into his evolved artwork. Boom, looks absolutely phenomenal. I am a huge fan of this artwork. It looks so clean. But anyways, Mihawk is a slasher, free spirit, dex character. You can see his stats there, very, very good. Obviously, he does not have cotton candy, so he's going to have 2,031 attack, which is great. Now, his captain effect, right? His captain effect states that you need to have 6 slasher characters on your crew. So that is a pretty big drawback straight off the bat. However, he was going to boost your chain multiplier by 4 times and give your slasher characters a 1.75 times attack boost. Now, if you guys know about the legends in the game, you guys would see this part and you'd be like, hey, I've seen that before. And that would be right, because this character has essentially the same sort of captain effect as version 2 Sanji. So if you guys are familiar with how version 2 Sanji works and you've used him before and you understand his damage output, well, just understand that version 2 Mihawk is going to have very similar damage potential to version 2 Sanji, and his damage potential is crazy through the roof. And on top of it as well, he also states that Dex and Int Orbs are going to be appearing more often when you have him as a captain. Now that obviously is going to come into play when we go through Zoro in a little bit. So, in terms of his special ability, maxing at 12 turns, states that he's going to reduce one enemy's HP by 25%, doesn't go through barriers, but still, 25% health cut's pretty nice. And on top of this, he's going to boost the orb effects of slashes by 2 times for 1 turn, and then he has an added effect as well, that if on your crew you have 4 or more Dex or Int slots when you activate the special, he's going to give you a 2.25 times orb boost to slashes for 1 turn. So obviously it works really well with him as a captain because Dex and Int Orbs are going to be appearing more often, and then when you do get a lot of those orbs, you can go ahead and use his special and get a 2.25 times orb boost. So yeah, this character is going to be pretty freaking nice, and as we mentioned before, Zoro is going to be partnering really, really well with this new character. Now, in terms of his sailor abilities, he has 2, obviously, 75 attack to slasher characters if you are using him as a sub, and additionally stating that if your captain is a slasher, he's going to make all the other type slots beneficial for himself. So the only orbs that are not going to be beneficial are recovery and tandem when he is a sub character if your captain is a slasher. And he has 3 very powerful potential abilities. Recovery bind resistance, 7 turns reduction, pinch healing, so under 30% you get 1 times his recovery. So he actually didn't even notice, I didn't actually notice that. His recovery stat's actually pretty solid for a slasher character. And he has a critical hit chance, 90% chance for 12% extra damage. I think that is the highest critical hit chance we've ever seen in the entire game. That is so crazy. And his support ability, I didn't actually translate the support abilities, but you can see it's 18% additional stats to certain characters. Maybe that's slasher characters or Zoro. I don't know who that is for. But all in all, I'm a pretty big fan of this character, and he's very, very interestingly built, and he's going to be very similar to V2 Sanji in terms of damage, so I'm a big fan of that. The only thing is I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I don't know if any characters that are in the game that are slashers that can remove any sort of effects that limit your chain multiplier or give you a chain lock, because that is going to be the #1 thing that makes this character worse. Because Sanji, as a special, he has the way to get around that in certain circumstances, but Mihawk does not have that. So that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be playing out. And as I said, I don't know if any other characters in the game that are slashes that can get rid of it. If there are, let me know down below in the comment section. But overall, pretty interesting character. And as I said before, the artwork looks so freaking cool. But now is the time we can go through the Legend Zoro. So this is the 5-star version of Zoro. Obviously, it's the Dressrosa Zoro. It would have been interesting if they already went to Wano and gave us a sneak peek of Wano Zoro, but understandably, they're not going to be doing that. So I can expect maybe like this character getting a 6+ once we get to Wano, but it's going to be interesting. Okay, so in terms of what he does, this is his evolved artwork. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of this artwork. I think Mihawk's artwork looks so much better, and it's just because of the fact, you know, we had 6+ Zoro, whose artwork looks very similar to this, but you know, it is what it is. Now this character is a driven slasher int character, so interestingly, seeing an int Zoro, we don't see that too often. His captain effect, right, will state that he's going to boost slasher characters' attack by 3.25 and give them a 1.5 times health boost. Now just straight off the bat, just reading that, like, he's already better than 6+ Zoro, because I believe 6+ Zoro was 3 times attack, 1.5 times health. And this guy is just the same, but with 3.25 times attack instead. Really weird. On top of this, he also makes Dex and Int Orbs have matching slot effects for your slasher characters. So the way that this team is built is that you have to have Zoro captain with a Mihawk. That way you get more Dex and Int Orbs, and they're going to be beneficial when Zoro is your captain. So that's really cool. And on top of this is that when you have a Dex or Int Orb on your slasher character, they get 1.25 times additional attack boost, making it a 4.026 times boost. That's so powerful, man. Like, that's so strong, having that much attack with a 1.5 times health. It's crazy, man. He's got a good captain effect, but I mean, it's not very creative in my opinion. I feel like, you know, when you look at characters back in the day where we got Legend Frankie and you got like the Gear 4 Tank Man Luffy and Katakuri, they were much more creative captain effect, whereas now it's just like, it's just very, very simple, straightforward captain effect. I don't know, it's not very creative, but it's a powerful captain effect nonetheless, and it's definitely going to be seeing play. Now, Zoro's special ability is actually pretty good. I'm a big fan of his special. So it does 120 times his attack in typeless damage to all enemies, and he also makes recovery and tandem orbs matching for slashes for 3 turns, and also states that he's going to give slashes a 2 times attack boost for 1 turn. And then when you activate the special, and during that turn is if you tap 4 or more perfects, you get 2.25 times attack in the following turn. So in my opinion, I think Zoro is just a much better character compared to Mihawk. Mihawk is obviously really, really cool, but you know me, and I've talked about it before in many, many different circumstances, but I feel like characters that are the crew's own type booster as a captain is pretty freaking sweet. And having Zoro do this, as well as having a very powerful captain effect, giving you more beneficial orbs, and giving you the ability to get an even higher attack boost when you do get those Dex and Int Orbs, is pretty cool. So just that off the bat, I'm a pretty big fan of Zoro. I still like Mihawk, but I think Zoro is slightly better in my personal opinion. And then in terms of his sailor abilities, his first one states that he's going to recover 10 turns of special bind for himself. Like, he's already got a better sailor ability than Mihawk as well, and his secondary one states that slasher characters will treat Dex and Int Orbs as beneficial. So yeah, like, this guy has better sailor abilities. In my opinion, he's got a much easier to use captain effect. I think Mihawk is stronger overall, but I do think that the Zoro is much easier to use, and he does grant you a little bit more beneficial effects because you don't have to rely on having exactly 6 slashes on your crew to get all the boosts. And I feel like Zoro's special ability is just better. That's just my opinion anyway. But, you know, you cannot go wrong. These 2 characters that are coming out are very powerful, and they are definitely going to be seen play in clearing recent content. So I'm a big fan of this whole new batch. The new slasher meta is finally here, guys. So for all of you guys out there that were waiting for the slashers to be revived, now is the time. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video of me breaking down the Sugofest characters. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.